Go ahead, Ethan. Take it for a spin. My father tossed the keys across the driveway, and my 17-year-old brother caught them against his chest. Behind him sat a gleaming luxury sedan with a giant red bow stretched across the hood. For 3 stupid seconds, I'd thought it was mine. It was my 18th birthday, after all. Then my mother, Deanne, walked toward me holding a thin white envelope. Don't look so disappointed, Nomi. We got you something too. I opened it. A one-way bus ticket. Leaving tomorrow morning. I stared at the destination, then at Ethan's brand new car. You bought him a car on my birthday. Mom folded her arms. You should be grateful for this much. Dad kept filming as Ethan climbed behind the wheel. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I simply folded the ticket and slipped it into my pocket. Because none of them knew what had arrived on my phone 5 minutes earlier. And I wasn't ready to tell them. My relatives crowded around Ethan as he started the engine. Listen to that, Uncle Mark shouted. Careful with it, Dad laughed. My birthday cake was still sitting untouched on the patio table. I stood beside it while everyone photographed my brother with his new car. Finally, I looked at Mom. So what happens tomorrow? She glanced at me like the answer should have been obvious. You're 18. You wanted independence. I wanted to go to college. And now you can. She pointed toward my pocket. That ticket gets you to the city. I stared at her. And after that, you figure it out. Dad lowered his phone long enough to add, Your mother and I have supported you for 18 years. Ethan needs a reliable start. You've always been good at handling things yourself. That was the strange rule in our house. The more responsible I became, the less I deserved. I worked weekends. I saved. I kept my grades high enough to earn a scholarship. Ethan forgot assignments, borrowed money, and needed rescuing constantly. Apparently, that qualified him for a luxury sedan. My reward for managing without help was being told to keep doing it. I walked inside. Mom followed me upstairs 20 minutes later and stopped when she saw an open suitcase on my bed. You're actually packing. You gave me a one-way ticket. I thought you might at least discuss it with us. I looked at her. What exactly is there to discuss? For once, she had no answer. After she left, I closed my bedroom door and finally checked the notification I'd ignored during Ethan's car reveal. It was from Mr. Lawson, ***, the attorney who had handled my grandmother Evelyn's estate. Grandma had died 2 years earlier. Before she died, she'd made me promise something strange. When you turn 18, Nomi, speak to Mr. Lawson before you make any important decisions. I'd never understood why. Now his message was sitting on my screen. Happy 18th birthday. Everything is ready. Call me when you're somewhere private. I slowly pulled the bus ticket from my pocket and placed it beside my phone. Outside, Ethan honked his new car and my parents cheered. But I was staring at one word in Mr. Lawson's message. Everything. What exactly had Grandma left behind that my parents were never supposed to control? That night, Mom appeared in my doorway while I was folding the last of my clothes into my suitcase. She leaned against the frame. So you're really going tomorrow? I zipped the suitcase halfway. That's what the ticket says. Her eyes moved around my room. I wasn't taking much. Clothes, my laptop, school documents, and the little wooden box Grandma Evelyn had left me. Mom stepped inside. You understand that once you leave, things change, right? What things? The family phone plan, rides, food, everything we've been providing. She said it like she was explaining consequences to a rebellious child, instead of describing the eviction she'd arranged on my birthday. I finally turned toward her. Can I ask you something? She sighed. What? Why does Ethan need a luxury car to start his life, but I need a bus ticket to start mine? Her expression tightened. Because Ethan needs more help. And because I do. You've always been independent, Nomi. You work, you save, you figure things out. There it was. The answer I'd been hearing my entire life. Every responsibility I handled became evidence that I deserved less. I nodded, okay. Mom seemed almost irritated that I didn't fight. This is supposed to motivate you. It has. She stared at me for another second before walking out. I shut the door, locked it, and immediately called Mr. Lawson. He answered on the second ring. Nomi, happy birthday. Thank you, you said everything was ready. A short pause. Yes, your grandmother established a trust several years ago. It became accessible to you today, on your 18th birthday. I sat down slowly. A trust? In your name alone. My grip tightened around the phone. Do my parents know? They knew Evelyn had made estate arrangements. They were not given the details. My heart began pounding. How much is in it? That conversation should happen in person. There are documents you need to review, and I'd rather not discuss the financial details over an unsecured call. He scheduled a meeting with me in the city. Then he added something that changed everything. Understand this clearly, Nomi. Neither Diane nor Robert is a trustee, beneficiary, or authorized signer. They have no authority over these assets. I looked at the one-way ticket on my desk. For the first time all day, it didn't frighten me. The next morning, Dad drove me to the bus station. My suitcase sat between us in silence. When we reached the curb, he popped the trunk but never switched off the engine. I pulled my suitcase out myself. Dad lowered his window. Don't come running back when real life gets expensive. I looked at him for a moment. Then I said, I won't. He drove away. No hug. No goodbye. I watched his car disappear into traffic before looking down at the bus ticket in my hand. Attached to it was the return information slip the clerk could use if I needed to change my travel arrangements later. I tore it in half. Then again. I dropped the pieces into the trash, pulled out my phone, and called Mr. Lawson. I'm coming to see you. 1 week later, a black limousine turned onto my parents' street. I sat in the back seat watching the houses pass while the chauffeur checked the address. Number 42, he asked. That's it. Aunt Claire had invited me to the family dinner 2 days earlier. According to her, the dinner was supposed to celebrate Ethan's new car. According to Mom, apparently, I had wanted freedom and chosen to leave home. I hadn't corrected anyone. Not yet. Inside the house, Ethan was already the center of attention. The insurance is insane, he complained. Turning his keys around one finger, I didn't know it would cost that much. Dad laughed. Good things cost money. Uncle Mark asked, you paid cash for it. Not all of it, Dad admitted. We financed most of it, but investing in Ethan's future is worth every penny. Aunt Claire looked around. Where, Nomi? Mom gave a dismissive shrug. Probably figuring out buses. She wanted independence, remember? She's 18, Claire said. She'll learn, Mom replied. 18-year-olds always think they know everything. That was when headlights swept across the dining room windows. Everyone turned. The limousine rolled slowly into the driveway and stopped directly behind Ethan's new car. Through the tinted window, I watched Dad step toward the curtains. What on earth? The chauffeur got out first. Then he walked around the limousine and opened my door. I stepped onto the driveway. Through the window, I saw Mom's mouth fall open. I wore a simple, polished outfit and carried only my handbag. No suitcase, no desperate expression, nothing that suggested I had come back asking to be rescued. When I entered the house, conversation stopped. Ethan stared at me. Nomi. Hey. He glanced outside. Whose limo is that? Mine for the evening. His eyebrows shot up. You rented a limo. Mom pushed past him. With what money? I took off my coat. Hello to you too, Mom. Aunt Claire came over and hugged me. You look wonderful. How's the apartment? Silence. Mom turned sharply. What apartment? Claire blinked. The one near her college. Dad's smile disappeared. Mom stared at me. You already have an apartment. Yes. But you've only been gone a week. I know. Ethan stepped closer. Wait, do you have some rich boyfriend or something? No. Then who paid for all this? I walked toward the dining room. Mom followed. Nomi. I kept moving. She caught up beside the doorway and lowered her voice. Where did you get this kind of money? I stopped. For the first time, she wasn't talking to me like the daughter who had nowhere else to go. She was looking at me like I knew something she didn't. I met her eyes. Ask Grandma. Dad's chair scraped against the floor. What did you just say? I turned toward him. I said, ask Grandma. For a second, he simply stared at me. Then his expression changed. Not confusion. Recognition. Have you spoken to Lawson? The room went quiet. Mom looked between us. Who's Lawson? That question told me everything I needed to know. Dad knew Grandma had arranged something before she died. He just hadn't known the details. Yes, I said. I met with him. Dad immediately lowered his voice. Nomi, whatever Evelyn left needs to be handled carefully. You're 18. Financial decisions like this should be discussed as a family. I almost laughed. A family decision. Yes. I pointed through the window toward Ethan's luxury car. Was that a family decision? Ethan stopped turning his keys. Dad's jaw tightened. That's different. How? No answer. Suddenly, little things Grandma had said over the years made sense. She insisted I open my own bank account when I started working. She warned me never to give anyone access just because they were family. And once, after watching Mom make me cancel plans to help Ethan with a school project he'd ignored, Grandma had told her, if you keep making one child the permanent giver, one day you'll discover she has nothing left to give you. Back then, everyone had dismissed it. Now Dad was staring at my handbag, like Grandma's warning might be sitting inside it. Mom stepped forward. You need to come home. No. We can sort this out privately. There's nothing to sort out. Dad rubbed a hand across his face. Nomi, we've made commitments. What commitments? His eyes flicked toward Ethan. The car wasn't cheap. There was a substantial down payment, and the monthly payment is significant. Insurance, too. I stared at him. Then I understood. For months, part of every paycheck I earned had gone toward groceries and household bills, because Mom kept saying everyone had to contribute. Even after handing me a one-way ticket, they had apparently expected that contribution to continue. You thought I'd keep sending money home. Mom crossed her arms. You're still part of this family. You told me yesterday that once I left, the phone plan, food, rides, everything stopped. That doesn't mean you stop caring about us. I nodded slowly. The automatic household transfers are already canceled. Dad's face hardened. You did what? I stopped them the day I left. Ethan lowered his keys. For the first time, the shiny car outside didn't look like a gift. It looked like a bill. Dad stepped toward me. How much did Evelyn leave you? I didn't answer. Instead, I opened my handbag. I removed the sealed folder Mr. Lawson had given me and placed it on the dining room table. Dad reached toward it. Before his fingers touched the folder, Aunt Claire suddenly stood. Robert, don't. Everyone turned toward her. Claire looked at Dad, then at Mom. Her voice dropped. Evelyn told me why she changed everything. Dad slowly pulled his hand away from the folder. Mom stared at Aunt Claire. What do you mean, asterisk changed everything? Claire remained standing. Evelyn saw what was happening in this family, long before any of you were willing to admit it. Mom's face tightened. This is between us and our daughter. No, Claire said. You made it everyone's business when you celebrated Ethan's car in front of the family on Nomi's birthday and sent her away with a bus ticket. Nobody spoke. Claire looked at me before continuing. Your grandmother watched Nomi work weekends. She watched her save. She watched her contribute to this household. And every time Nomi became more responsible, you used that as a reason to give Ethan more. Mom shook her head. Ethan needed more help. That was exactly Evelyn's point. I opened the folder. Inside were the documents Mr. Lawson had walked me through earlier that week. Grandma created a trust for me years ago, I said. Mr. Lawson managed it until I turned 18. Dad's eyes dropped to the papers. And how much is in it? I closed the folder. Enough. Nomi. Enough to pay for college expenses my scholarship doesn't cover. Enough for housing. Enough that, if I manage it responsibly, I'll have financial security for a long time. Mom stared toward the driveway. So that limousine. I rented it for tonight. Ethan frowned. You didn't buy it? No. Then why rent something like that? I looked through the window at the limousine parked behind his new car. Because the last time this family saw me, Dad was leaving me at a bus station. Silence. I wanted the next time you saw me to make one thing clear. I survived. Dad pointed at the folder. You're 18, Nomi. You shouldn't be making decisions about that kind of money alone. I'm not. That stopped him. Mr. Lawson explained the trust. I've spoken with professionals. Most of the money remains invested. I leased a modest apartment near college, and I made a budget. Mom's expression shifted. You discussed all of this with strangers instead of your parents. I reached into my handbag again. This time, I pulled out the bus ticket. The one she had handed me on my birthday. I placed it beside the trust folder. You told me I was 18 and needed to figure things out. That was different. How? Mom opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Dad finally sat down. Your grandmother had no right to interfere in our family. Aunt Claire answered before I could. She wasn't interfering. She was protecting Nomi. Claire explained that Grandma had feared any inheritance rooted through my parents would eventually be used for Ethan. So she had made sure they could never control it. Mom's chair scraped backward. She turned our daughter against us. No, I said. Mom looked at me. Grandma didn't give me the bus ticket. You did. Her face changed. I continued before she could interrupt. She didn't buy Ethan a luxury car on my 18th birthday. You did. She didn't tell me I should be grateful while you sent me away. You did. Dad looked down. Ethan stopped playing with his keys. After a moment, he said quietly, I never asked them to kick you out. I know. He looked up. And I'm not angry at you for accepting the car, but I'm done paying for everybody else's choices. Dad's head snapped toward me. What does that mean? It means the household transfers stay canceled. Mom folded her arms. After everything we've done for you. You told me that once I left, everything you provided stopped. So everything I provided stopped too. Dad's eyes drifted toward Ethan's car. The payment. The insurance. The household expenses. For the first time, those belonged entirely to them. Mom glanced around the table and seemed to realize everyone had heard the truth. Her version, that I had impulsively abandoned the family, was gone. She turned back to me. Fine, come home. I blinked. What? You've made your point. Come home and we can put this behind us. A week earlier, I would have given almost anything to hear her say I still had a home. Now I looked at the apartment keys, inside my handbag. Then at the trust, documents Grandma had protected. Then at that one-way bus ticket. I slid the ticket across the table toward Mom. "Oh, didn't I tell you?" She stared at me. I smiled. "I don't need you anymore." The color drained from her face. Dad said nothing. A soft knock came from the doorway. My chauffeur stood there. "Miss Carter, the car is ready whenever you are." I picked up my folder. Aunt Claire hugged me before I left. Ethan remained beside the table, his new car keys motionless in his hand. I walked outside. The chauffeur opened the limousine door, and this time I didn't look back before getting in. Over the following months, I started college and kept most of Grandma's inheritance invested exactly as planned. I maintained relationships with relatives who respected my boundaries, especially Aunt Claire. My parents and I became distant. And without the money I had quietly contributed to the household, their finances became tighter than they had expected. Eventually, the luxury car had to go. The payments and insurance were simply too much. I never celebrated that. I didn't need to. Because my victory wasn't watching Ethan lose a car. It was realizing I no longer needed to lose pieces of myself to earn a place in that family. I never moved back home. The apartment became mine in a way my childhood bedroom never had been. Nobody could threaten to take it away because I disappointed them. Nobody could turn basic support into leverage. And I kept the bus ticket. Not because I wanted to remember the humiliation. Because it reminded me of the exact day everything changed. My parents gave me a one-way ticket because they thought sending me away would teach me how much I needed them. Instead, it taught me I never had to beg for a seat in a family that had already shown me the door.